And we're rolling. How are you doing today, Kendra?
I'm doing good. Like I said, it seemed like a good idea when I talked to you about doing this interview. It's just, it's been like a crazy road, and so hoping I can explain my journey.
Oh, I'm sure you'll have no problem. Now, how did you hear about the podcast?
I've seen you in the Facebook groups, and I've known people who've done it, like Aaron Meadows, Jeremy Hurt, and
Okay,
so
cool.
I've seen it going on. I just never committed until now.
And this is your first podcast ever.
Yeah, my first podcast ever.
Well, welcome to the Rise and Above podcast, and hopefully this is a great experience.
Thanks.
Now, you own a business, or you started a business recently.
Yeah.
Takeout Takeout.
That is correct, yes.
What does that mean?
Takeout Takeout means taking the trash out of takeout. I have been working on living a more sustainable lifestyle, but as we know, yes, there's lots of things you can do at home, but it also takes extra work. And I'm human like everybody else, and I like to outsource my help. On the days I'm tired, I take my kid to her activities. Do I want to cook? No. I want to, get takeout from a restaurant, go home, change into my pajamas, sit on my couch, and eat and relax is what I want to do. So I wanted to bring this sustainable journey to like a larger community for people who want to do better, but we're just so overworked and we're tired. And so by being the middleman, or woman in this case, sorry, men, providing reusable takeout containers to the restaurants. And so you don't have to change your habits. You just keep doing what you're doing, but you're being given a better option to help the environment, really.
Yeah, I think that's very important, especially when we live in Michigan. It's very outdoorsy here. There's a lot of like natural, preservative, like not preservatives, but what would you call it? Like
nature preserves.
Nature preserves.
To protect it. And you see like the Pure Michigan commercials, and everybody looks forward to their Pure Michigan summers, going to the lake, and nobody wants trash in their lake or fishing and getting a fish that's eaten a bunch of microplastics, because that's where it goes. We hear so much about trash in the oceans, but we don't really talk about trash in our Great Lakes, the largest freshwater source in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually was just having a conversation with a coworker yesterday about, we were talking about drinking water out of the Grand River, which I would never do. That sounds absolutely disgusting. But it kind of has like a stigma around it, the Grand River, for being disgusting. And it's because people throw their trash in it.
Right. You don't even talk about going swimming in the Grand River, let alone drinking the water. So
or eating the fish out of it.
Oh, yeah. Every time I see people fishing out of the Grand River, I'm like, why?
Well, more than likely, they're probably catching and releasing, I would assume.
Yeah, probably. But
I would never eat fish out of there either.
Why?
So you felt passionate about starting a business to kind of help the world be a little bit more eco-friendly. What has that journey been like? Is it difficult?
It's more difficult than I imagined. I originally wanted to do something else, actually start like a zero waste restaurant / refill store. So
how would you do that?
Think of like a eco-friendly Cracker Barrel. So that would be like the vibe, like if the store side was like a refill shop and the other half was like zero waste. Obviously for the restaurant, it would be mostly like vegan, plant-based foods with composting and whatnot. And, that's a very niche thing, especially in Lansing, Michigan, since we're not known for sustainability. And so I kind of like backed away from that. I still want to do it at some point, but I didn't see that being successful right away. And so I was like, okay, if I want people to have access to a better system, I need to meet them where they are. And by partnering with restaurants that already exist, I don't have to follow any new trends or anything. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll just let the people do what they do, but give them a better option for packaging.
That's cool. So these containers that you have in front of us, I want to show them on the camera. This is one. What size is this?
They describe that as a large salad clamshell. I don't know if it says the size on that.
I don't think it does. It is dishwasher safe though.
It is.
And it's made in America.
Yeah.
Or no, it's made in China.
Yeah. But they shipped it from America.
Now, did you have to create this, or did you have to work with like a supplier? Or is there like a bigger company that's creating these?
Luckily, there's a bigger company because they've already do this in other states.
Okay.
And so if you go online to a Webstaurant, that's what they already have available. And they have different sizes, but right now I'm doing a beta test with Abundance Cafe. And so I've just got 2 sizes for now, and it's going pretty well. Actually, really well, not just pretty well. Yeah, within the last like 9 or 10 weeks, we've saved like over 200 items from being landfilled.
Wow.
And she only delivers once a week for people who don't know. So it's not like a everyday thing. It's once a week for the past 9 weeks. Over 200 items are saved.
What is the feedback from the people who receive these?
A lot of people like them. The soup container I have here, they said it's like way easier to open than the other stuff. Erin tries to use other eco-friendly products like, the plant plastics and whatnot, but she struggles with those because if she gets a new delivery of those, but they stay out in the sun, they actually melt.
Oof.
And so then she has to reorder. And then the other problem with plant plastics, they say it's compostable, but it's not backyard compostable. So a majority of them still end up in the landfills releasing that methane gas because we don't have access to like a commercial composter for those items.
Right. Erin Meadows is one of the people in Lansing that I just want to see so successful. Her food is so good.
Yes.
It's so underrated. She needs a restaurant.
We're working on that. Yeah.
I know she's working on it, but she needs one now because that food is amazing and she's really good. Good at making it, and she's passionate about it.
Oh yeah, she loves it. Yeah, it's great to work with her. I'm glad she's just as excited as I am on this journey. And so, she's like the first person to take the plunge with me. And it's like, oh yeah, I'll test it out on my customer base.
That's cool.
I didn't have anybody before her. So yeah, she's been super great.
That's very cool. Now, have you got other businesses on board, or?
I do, but see, we're going to talk about the complications now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Let's put everybody on blast.
State of Michigan, you are on blast. No, for real. So the problem with expanding this right now, and I did not know this when I started it, I've just kind of learned it along the way while talking to people. Michigan has not updated their food code since 2009. And the FDA comes out with a new code every 4-ish years. And the 2009 food code does not allow reusables owned by a third party. Yes, you can bring in your own, but then there's other legal jargon about how the restaurant can fill it so we don't pass along any fungies. But the newer versions of the food code, they do allow for reusables, and there is a safe system put in place to make sure they can be sanitized, checked for any damages, and still keep the general population safe. We just haven't adopted that. So while I have a number of restaurants interested, the thing is, until Michigan updates their food code, each and every facility I work with will have to apply for a variance code to make this work.
Whoa.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where I am now. Like I said, this is why I'm doing a free trial right now with Abundance Cafe, because I'm still working on the variance. So
is there a way to appeal it, or to apply for them to change the code, or for them to review the code?
Yeah, I mean, they were going to update the food code before COVID, but I don't believe they've circled back to that. But of course, now it's been a few years. So then there's a new food code to read. So I bet they're going to think about that one for a little bit. And
now, eventually you do have to scrap these out, right?
Yeah.
What's the life like what is the lifetime of one of these containers?
Okay, so assuming that these are treated well by anybody who chooses to participate, they can be used up to 1,000 times.
Oh,
So, yeah. So far, no problems. I think the only damaged one I got was there was a salad in one and somebody wanted to cut a piece of the salad smaller, and so there was a little bit of scratch marks on it. But aside from that, they are dishwasher safe, they're microwave safe, and they've been holding up.
that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, it's kind of weird that they haven't switched over to something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess in the big scheme of things, it's still not the greatest thing because you're still like eating out of plastic, right?
Yeah.
But you're removing that element of waste, which is important.
Exactly. And quite honestly, like while these have been great and like a cheaper investment to get a beta test going, honestly, it's not my favorite. It's not Aaron's favorite. But again, it goes back to meeting the people where they are.
Yeah.
As like for Aaron's customer base, I think they're healthy. They want to be plastic free. They are ready for the minor inconvenience of reheating stuff. The city in San Francisco that does a program like this, they use stainless steel.
Oh.
But obviously that's not microwave safe. And then I think they might have some challenges too. Like if you serve like hot soup in stainless steel, I think they serve some food items cold. And so you have to, go home and reheat it. And sometimes that's kind of defeats the purpose of getting takeout.
That is true.
And so like I said, this version is basically more about meeting people where they are, like getting our toes wet together. Yes, I realize there are some people that are ready to eliminate plastic packaging from their food.
But I mean, let's be real. Look, I got water that's
right.
in plastic.
Exactly. Not everybody's there and you're in a hurry. And sometimes if you have leftovers and you want to take it to work, you don't want to switch it over to another container so you can microwave it in the break room. So, yes, this is meeting people where they are. I think eventually I can see myself sending out the plastic version and maybe a stainless steel option, depending on the restaurant and what their customer base is like and what they're ready for.
Yeah. Especially, I guess I would understand if you had a different option for like let's say a Buttons Cafe, a place where people go to eat healthy.
Yeah.
But if you're like, if you're ordering like pizza or something,
right.
Like, chances are you don't care.
Exactly.
More than likely.
Yeah. Or maybe they don't. It's not that they don't care. A lot of people don't know. I think a lot of people basically look for like BPA free stuff, but they don't know that there's other harmful chemicals in plastic. It's like, taking one bad guy off the street, but we have like how many other bad guys? The same goes for plastic.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And everything else too.
Yeah.
I had a lady on the podcast who was a scientist or is a scientist, and I can't remember the chemical that she was talking about, but she was like, yeah, essentially we're all doomed.
Yep.
She was like, it's in everything. It's in your clothing. It's literally in everything.
Yeah.
Drinking water. And I'm like, oof.
Yes.
Like
it's endocrine disrupting. It is affecting your fertility. But you're right. It is in everything. And CBS, they recently said that basically it's in all of our drinking water now. I don't know if we can ever go back or if there's some great scientist that knows stuff, but I don't know.
Have you ever seen the oceans that are full of the plastics? And
yeah,
oh my gosh, it's like an island.
It is. Yeah.
It's disgusting.
It's super gross. And they talk about it like going out there. But like I said, nobody really discusses the Great Lakes. And it's not like the ocean. It's kind of stuck where it is, so it ends up affecting us directly. And then large parts of the ocean don't freeze like the lake, and then you have like salt water versus fresh water, what breaks down, what doesn't. And so a lot of research still needs to be done in that area.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, what's your goal? What's your goal for the business? Obviously, you want to see your product in every business. You want to be having a more sustainable form of takeout.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the base of it. But where do you want to see it? Where do you want to see it go?
In the short term, I am really hoping to have like 2 to 5 variances approved by the end of the year. And then once Michigan updates their food code, I would love to expand this into more than just restaurants. It's like, there's so much waste in schools, at stadiums, and there's ways to do better. And I'm trying to post more like on my social media, like other things you can do. I think society, like, when my parents, like, I know their parents didn't have a lot, but then they were like the first generation where it's like, oh, we can buy stuff. But in the words of my favorite person, Jonathan Van Ness, just because you American doesn't mean you Ameri should. It's like, we don't necessarily need all this stuff. I just posted like a back to school zero waste guide about, no, your kid doesn't really need a new backpack. Just get something generic. It's like, everybody has so many pencils and pens in the house. Do you really need to buy new ones every single year?
No, you don't.
No, you don't. And same with notebooks. All the pages don't get used. I had my daughter like just rip out the ones that were already used, and I didn't buy any notebooks this year. I didn't buy utensils. I did not buy a backpack. And then there's people on the news like, oh, inflation has me spending $800 for back to school supplies. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And so, yeah, it's not just environmentally friendly. Like if you really just look at what you truly need, it saves your wallet too.
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually a really good idea. Like for like ball stadiums or like any kind of stadium really that serves food, or schools even. Like if you had something like this that they served your food in and then they ate it and then they just had a place to like return it at the end, then they could reuse it.
MSU even if used it is working on that too.
What's that?
MSU is working on something like this too. I heard it through the grapevine.
They stole the idea from you.
I don't know which one of us have started first, honestly. But yeah, I kind of heard it through the grapevine, and then they just posted on their Instagram that MSU's Sustainability Club, they talked about putting up the finishing touches on theirs. So soon college students at MSU will have an option to, get food from the cafeteria, take it back to their dorm, and then return the packaging back to the cafeteria. Oh. So coming soon.
Well, that's cool. That's really cool. One of the things that was kind of interesting to me during, I mean, even now, but even like during COVID, is like talking about like trash, people throwing their trash on the ground and stuff. People would take their masks off and throw them on the ground.
Oh my God,
it's like, dude, what are you doing?
I know. Yeah, this was like a conversation I just had with Aaron too. It's like, I was mad a little bit about the approach to COVID, as like there could have been a bigger conversation about how to do better, not just with the vaccine. It's like our trash and our reliance on so many things we don't even really need that causes this. We are disrupting nature. We are coming closer and closer in contact with animals and wildlife, and it causes these diseases. And then with COVID, it's just like we created more superbugs, we created more trash, and I think we just made it worse for ourselves. Honestly, like with the vaccine, I think it's more of a Band-Aid for now, but I think we have more superbugs definitely coming.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you kind of look at the way like the colds have taken form over the last 2 years, especially like I've seen it because I have kids who are in school.
Yeah.
My kids got sick a lot last year, a lot. And they didn't have COVID. We tested them every single time. It was never COVID. It was like RSV and like rhino virus and like, or whatever, and like other stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was almost like because we were so focused on COVID and because everybody was so scared of that we stopped focusing on all this other stuff, and all that other stuff got stronger and stronger and stronger. Yeah. And it just like, it hit everybody hard.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, it drives me nuts because I really think there needs to be a bigger conversation on how to do better, how to be healthy. And there's marginalized communities that our pollution affects just because we don't see the trash in our waters here aside from the Grand River doesn't mean it doesn't exist somewhere else. It doesn't mean it's not affecting people.
Well, I mean, even on a local level, I seen something recently. I think it was put up by the Michigan DNR that within 6 miles of anywhere you're at in Michigan, there's a lake.
Yeah, I
So
believe that.
like there's a body of water within 6 miles from anywhere you're at in Michigan. It's like you should be concerned about what you're putting on the ground.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, the Great Lakes and all our water systems, millions of people rely on that for their drinking water. And without it, it's like, we don't need another Flint story. We don't need what's going on in Jackson, Mississippi. We need to do better.
What's going on in Jackson, Mississippi?
Oh, haven't you seen the brown sludge coming from their faucets?
No, I try not to pay attention to the news. I check out quite often.
Well, maybe that's a problem. Some people need to check in and realize that their drinking water is not safe.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because there's a lot of places, and I think there was actually some places in Michigan too that were they tested the drinking water, and it wasn't great. Yeah, and it was in other places other than Flint.
I could see that.
And that was recently.
I picked up a free water test kit from the Home Depot recently, so I just want to see. Part of me wants to know, and the other part of me wants to stick my head in a hole and not know.
That's funny. I drink a lot of water out of the faucet.
Yeah, usually I do too. That's why I'm like, oh, what?
But they say those minerals are good for you too, right? That are in the water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know there's reverse osmosis water that will like
Take
help
it out.
get rid of the funky stuff in the water. But then they talk about if that's what you do need to remineralize your water, like with fruits like lemon and stuff.
Yeah. Now, in your house, are you pretty crazy about like throwing things away and or in recycling and all that fun stuff?
And
how's your family feel about that?
well, it's just me and my daughter. So luckily she has no choice. I am the boss. I am God in my house. And yeah, it's been a long journey, honestly, because this whole thing really just started off as a health journey, like my own personal health journey, but then it just kind of evolved.
Let's talk about that. How did that start?
Oh my God. How long is this podcast?
We can go for as long as you want. It's Saturday. I have nothing to do. We can go for 5 hours if you wanted.
Yeah, because it's like my general health journey like started way back in high school. But it wasn't about packaging. It was just like, being the overweight kid and slowly learning about food. And the initial way I lost weight was like my rule was can't read it, don't eat it. Mm-hmm. Like anything in the ingredients, if you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't eat it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good move.
Yeah. And so it's like I could eat whatever I want, but I would eat chocolate chip cookies made with better ingredients as opposed to God knows what.
Right. Yeah, and then like the other rule of thumb is that when you go into a store, you stay out of the center aisles and you shop on the outside, and it's your produce and all your meat and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's actually a lot cheaper. And then like from there, it's like I moved to Italy. I've got even more questions about food and why we do things the way we do here, and it just got the wheels turning. And
because they eat a little bit better than we do over there, don't they?
So much better.
It probably tastes better too. At least they're Italian food.
Everybody would love fruits and vegetables if we grew them like they did.
What's different about the way they grow them?
It's more of a natural process, I would say. It's like we spray so much stuff on our food just to kill everything. And this is crazy. It's like one of the many documentaries I watched. The so-called fertilizer, I bet a lot of people don't know where that came from. It actually came from World War II, and that was used in the gas chambers to kill people. And for whatever reason, they are spraying it on our food.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why?
Well, I would assume because of mass agriculture, right?
Yeah,
Like
mass agriculture. Yeah, like the monocropping where you rely on like one breed of produce
yeah.
to ship everywhere. And yeah, that stuff literally does kill everything around the plant. So I feel like I just had an apple before I came here and I thought it was flavorless.
Maybe it was the chemicals on it.
Maybe I buy organic. I was just
Okay.
like, yeah, it's like starting a business. It's like I'm struggling. I'm pinching pennies, but I'm like, I am not. I still have standards.
That's funny. So starting the business, is this all you do?
Yeah, right now I literally
Wow.
quit everything to work on this.
What were you doing before this?
Before I worked at Jackson National.
Wow. So you had a good job.
Yeah.
And you were so passionate about this, you're like, I can do this. And you just
Yeah.
decided to stop working. And so what has that been like?
Have you ever seen the movie Tangled? Where like
I have kids.
you know, where Rapunzel leaves her tower and she's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And the next minute's like, oh my God, what am I doing? I should have stayed. And then it's like, never mind, this is great. Yeah, it's been like that. That's the best way to describe it, because like I have really good days when I meet people and people are excited, they want to join. I was like, yes, I got this. And then like the health department wants to strike me down and I have to figure out how to write a variance code, and it's like, oh my God, I have no money and I need to make this work soon and I want to go cry.
That's got to be the hardest thing about being an entrepreneur, right? Giving up the stability to be able to start something that you're passionate about.
Right.
And then when you come up to obstacles like that and you're like, oh man, like what do I do? Should I just give up? Should I go find a normal job again?
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm going to keep moving.
Yeah, I have this gut feeling that this is going to work. It's like I've made it through so many questionable times in my life where I didn't know the answer. And that's really a part of the life. What brings us down is not knowing the answer. But I just remember I was like, okay, I've made it through this. I made it through that. It's like, this is going to go somewhere.
Absolutely. I mean, in my opinion, whenever you want to do something and something doesn't work out, you just keep going. That's when you should keep going, because then you'll discover something that will work. Like, let's say this doesn't work. Right. But then maybe you like revamp the company a little bit and you figure something else out that works, and then that takes off. Like, you just keep moving and you just keep going.
Yeah.
Because if you stop, that's when everything starts to fail.
It's true. Yeah, that's really what it is. And yeah, it's like if I didn't take a plunge and do this beta test, it's like I said, the other states are starting programs like this, and it's like I'm kind of learning from them from a distance, but nobody's really discussing their struggles. They're talking about all the happy stuff on Instagram.
Oh, of course, it's Instagram.
How we're only successful and we have no hard times at all. And it's easy. And then, of course, I tried to reach out to them to try to learn more. Do they want to talk to me? No. People want to save the world, but they don't want help doing it, or
they won't reach back out to you?
I haven't been able to get a hold of anybody.
Really?
I know. And so I'm like, do I need to like fly to California or New York? or like I said, we have a different culture here in Michigan. Like I said, we're not known for sustainability either. So their answers might not even work here. And so I really have to just try it out here.
What do you think that is? Why is that? Why would you say? Because like when you go to like a bigger city, I mean, obviously they're more progressive.
Right.
They want to see like, I mean, they want to be like green energy. They want everything to be just green. Mm-hmm. But is it something, would it be like a cultural thing, would you say, as to why we're not more like that?
Maybe. Yeah, because like the bigger cities like New York, and the other program is in San Francisco, maybe it's like more of an international hub than what we have here. And maybe with more ideas and cultures and thoughts, not to say that Lansing isn't diverse, but maybe not as diverse. And then I think it goes back to our leaders and what's accessible. And so they had leaders that, update their food code. Hint, hint. They put in composting programs. Maybe they do spend more money on educating the community. And it's really hard to say, like, why it is the way it is. For us specifically, I could easily say accessibility, because I think I've Googled the recycling facilities in the area. There's not that many, and you have to drive there, and that's another hassle. And then you have to clean it out. And yeah, it's like my closest ones are like 4 miles away, but that could still take me roughly an hour to drive there, drive back, sort everything. And like I said, we're already tired.
Yeah, I mean, and nobody wants to have to do extra to recycle or whatever.
Yeah. And especially like when that audit just came out where it's like, 20% of items were contaminated, and that results into other items that were actually good to be recycled get landfilled because it's expensive, it's dangerous. There's lots of reasons why you don't sort out the contaminants so it gets landfilled. And it's like, why do I even want to do that if it's not even going to get recycled?
Well, and on top of that, I think during COVID, China stopped buying all the plastic.
They did.
And so that caused a problem for recycling. They're
Yes.
like, yeah, recycle, but it's still going to go to the landfills.
But yeah, because it goes back to education and taking time and energy to do it. And so, like I said, with takeout, it's going to get reused up to 1,000 times. And yeah, I will still take it to the recycling center once it reaches its end of the road.
Is there a way to recycle it, melt it down, and then remake them?
Maybe. I don't see why not. Probably. Am I there yet? No.
That would be the ultimate like recyclable like move.
It would. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there's also stainless steel, which lasts longer. But
that's true.
You would also have to move containers to reheat some stuff.
That is also
so,
true.
Like I said, we'll see where Lansing's at. I'm not sure yet.
So are you just doing this locally, or are you going to try to like go to Grand Rapids or like Detroit area? What's your plans?
I think the best advice that I've gotten so far, since I have to apply for variance codes for each and every facility, was to find a smaller chain, like not like an Applebee's, but I think Cancun like has 2 locations here. I
think I have more than 2.
Or maybe, yeah. And then the Jolly Pumpkin is here, and then in Grand Rapids and Traverse City.
What's a Jolly Pumpkin?
In East Lansing, that pizza place. It's new.
Oh, well, yeah, I've never heard of it.
Oh, you should go. It's yummy.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is it like one of those fast food pizza places?
No. I was like, I got a...
Like a Blaze?
No, you sit-down restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I got a lemon pizza there. It was delicious. I was shocked. But I didn't think I'd like it, but I did. But yeah, they have more than one location. So if I find facilities like that have more than one location until somebody updates the food code again, I can expand my reach into other cities.
So essentially you need like a company that has the financial stability to be able to apply for it. Does it cost money to be able to apply for it, or can you just apply for it?
You can just apply for it. Yeah, I have to create a standard operating procedures and submit it. And
for each business?
For each business. And then they want to come to that facility to make sure we're doing what I said we would do. So they said, if I write steps 1 through 6 on the day of the visit, don't be thinking like, oh, actually, we don't need step 4. Like, oof. Keep it consistent. Oof. So
wow. So they want to make sure that everything's up to code and you're doing exactly what you said you would do.
Yeah. And everybody I've talked to there has been pretty receptive. They know the winds are changing and they know the time is coming to do something more. But of course, they're a little bit nervous because if they approve something, it has to be safe.
Yeah. Yeah, because if somebody gets sick or something, oof.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, they want to make sure there's a thorough process to look at all the containers, check for damages, make sure it's sanitized properly, and
that's cool.
All of that, so it can be reused, so we can create a circular economy, essentially.
Yeah. Is there anybody locally other than you that is doing something like this?
Aside from that MSU pilot program, not that I know of.
Do you think it'd be possible to reach out to somebody at MSU about it?
I kind of thought about it.
You should.
It's like I always get nervous because I see them as a big fish and I'm a little fish.
Yeah, but they might actually help you.
They might, because as a college, I don't think they could go into restaurants. I think they're strictly more focused on the college campus. But people talk about that, and I'm like, what if they eat the little fish? And it's like, not that I don't want like a better economy. I would just be really sad if somebody just took over and I worked really hard and I just got shoved aside.
Well, I mean, I don't think you should look at it that way.
Yeah.
I think you should look at it as like, you're going to do what you're going to do no matter what. I mean, they might try to swoop in, and if they do, they do, but you could still expand like across the state in other cities, other towns.
I could. That's what I keep telling myself. I'm like, okay, it doesn't have to be just me. I don't have to be like the other people.
Yeah,
there's how many burger joints, there's how many pizza places. They're doing just fine, and truthfully, we do have to work together.
And there's enough space for everybody.
Yeah. It's
not like a dog-eat-dog world.
No. Yeah. I guess I just got used to, that corporate life and being at the bottom of the totem pole and not being taken seriously or whatever.
I understand that. I mean, I work for a giant corporation too, so it's easy to like feel like you're just a small fish in this big fishbowl or whatever.
Yeah, and that you have all these ideas and nobody looks at you or takes you seriously, and so
they don't care.
I know, that's what it felt like, and I was like,
maybe that's what you should do. Go to Jackson National Life and then tell them, hey, because they have a cafeteria there.
They do. I thought about it.
You should.
They have plant plastics, but they even sorted out into composting. I'm like, where do you take those? Because I've Googled commercial composting for items like that, and I can't find it.
Really?
And so I'm like, am I need to reword my search, or what's really happening? Are you throwing it in with the oil plastics? I have questions. Like, for real.
That is funny. That is really funny. Now, going back to your fitness journey, what kind of things do you do for fitness? Or exercise? Do you exercise?
Yeah, I do.
What kind of exercises do you do?
I do a little bit of everything, and it really depends on my mood and what I'm willing to put in. Sometimes it is just a walk. It's like I'm tired, but I need to move today, so it'll be like a walk around a park or something. And other days I'm doing like the YouTube videos, lifting weights and whatnot. And then other days it's just like, oh, the weights killed me, I'm gonna do yoga today.
That's awesome.
So a little bit of everything.
That's really good. I think a lot of people try to just stick with one thing, and then that's all they do. I'm more like that, I guess. Like I try to do a little bit of everything, which is my problem, but mainly like weightlifting. But I do like a lot of yoga and cardio stuff. Yoga is very important.
It is, yeah. You need to stretch. It's
extremely underrated. It was kind of interesting. So I work at GM, and I probably shouldn't say this, but I had my leg on a piece of moving equipment, I should say.
Oh, okay.
And as it was moving, I just kept stretching and stretching and stretching, and my leg was like almost fully extended, almost into a split. One foot was on the ground, the other foot was on the moving object. And my coworker was looking at me, he's like, "Whoa, Dave, you're so flexible." And I'm like, yeah. Well, I'm not even limber right now. Like I hadn't stretched for the day.
Flexible at all.
No,
but
not
I
at all.
try.
That's good though. Some people it's harder to be flexible.
I try, but no. I was like, I can't even touch my toes. I just tell other people they're closer to the ground, and that's why they can do it.
They're shorter.
You're short. You're closer to your toes. Okay.
That's funny. Have you ever done hot yoga?
No, I don't. Maybe no. I feel like I would remember that, so probably
you
not.
You would for sure remember that.
No.
It's there's one in East Lansing, and that's the one I've gone to, and that place, that will kill you.
Okay.
But it's awesome. You feel amazing afterwards, like euphoric.
I could see that.
Because it's like you're doing yoga in a sauna essentially.
I could see that. Yeah, I could just get nervous sometimes because like I haven't had this happen in a while, but I've been known to get lightheaded sometimes and pass out, but it hasn't happened in a really long time. And so I was like, maybe I could do hot yoga now that I eat better. And
Why do you think that was? Why were you passing out?
well, I didn't like ever pass out too much. It was like twice, but it was more of like
Twice.
a blackout as opposed to a pass out. Like if I didn't do something, I could easily pass out because my vision would get blurry. And it was more like when I squatted or I keep my legs bended too long, like my vision would get blurry. And sometimes that would happen in a hot tub where it's like, you get out and then I would just have to stand still because I couldn't see. And people would be like, are you okay? I'd be like, hold on, wait for my vision to come back. I was like, I'm still here. But yeah, there's been a time where it's like I passed out in my kitchen and people were like, you just fell. And I was like, I don't remember.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's scary. Because you could hit your head on something.
Right.
Oof.
Yeah. Then another time was like when I was walking down the stairs with my daughter, but I knew I didn't feel right. So I sat down and I kind of just gently passed out as opposed to falling. But
oh my gosh.
Yeah, I haven't had that in a while. But like I said, I've changed my diet immensely since then.
And so you eat a lot of organic things. What kind of diet are you doing?
I do mostly vegan, sometimes vegetarian, but yeah, mostly plant-based stuff now. And when I originally tried it, I wasn't educated on food. I was just like, what do I eat if I'm vegan? Like peanut butter and jelly and salads. Yeah. I was like, I didn't know, but now I do know. It's like I can make quinoa salads. I made lentil sloppy joes the other day. I can make Alfredo with cauliflower and cashews. I've learned how to do pancakes with oat milk and flaxseed, and jackfruit is great.
I think a lot of people, when they hear somebody's vegan or they hear that somebody's a vegetarian, like, oh, that person's a healthy person.
Yeah.
But it's like you can eat extremely unhealthy if you're a vegan or vegetarian. Like there's so many bad options out there.
I know, especially now because, like the world is moving more plant-based, but again, they're kind of trying to meet people where they are with plant-based burgers, plant-based brats, plant-based chicken nuggets.
Which makes me laugh.
Yeah.
Plant-based chicken nugget.
Yeah, that's what they say. I mean,
like, why isn't it just a plant-based nugget?
I don't know. to lie to people. It helps the parents lie to their kids. I don't know. There's a chicken on the box.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's one of the funniest things about that. I'm a huge meat eater though. So I cannot be a vegetarian or vegan.
Don't say that yet. I thought I couldn't either, but then...
No, I know I could. I know I could. I know I could. I just don't want to be.
There you go. That's the correct words.
Yeah. Fairly enough, I do not want to be. Now, I do like to eat greens, and I like to eat fruits and vegetables, all that stuff, but I love steak too much.
I don't think I've seen a plant-based steak on the market yet.
No.
It's more burgers.
Yeah, it's definitely burgers. Don't they have lab-grown steak, though?
Probably.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Probably.
Yeah.
It's not something I see at Kroger, though.
Well, and what's crazy about all that stuff, too, it's kind of expensive.
Yeah.
Like, it's not cheap.
Nope.
No.
Yeah, so, going vegan, and once you learn the plants and how to cook, like, your regular meals without the processed food, it actually is way cheaper if you can avoid the goodies.
Erin, she makes mostly vegetarian stuff, right?
Vegan and gluten-free, and yes, she makes some meat dishes sometimes.
I usually get, whenever she's at events, she has like these chicken wraps.
Oh yeah, she just made some of them.
They're so good. She's at an event today, right?
Yeah, grand opening. I'm sorry, business, I forgot who you are.
Yeah, but, I seen that too. I think it's in like Hazlitt or something.
Yeah.
And I thought about going just to get it. But she makes these muffins that she makes with real fruits.
Yep.
And that's what she uses to sweeten it, right?
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
I've never had anything like that.
I will have her listen to this so she can hear those words from your mouth.
No, they're truly amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, every time I see her, I'm like, I want a muffin.
She gave me a muffin this morning because I was there washing reusables and helping her wash dishes from a catering event yesterday. And we had muffins this morning without you. Sorry.
Oh, wow. You should have brought one.
Well, I didn't know. Next time.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love what she's doing, and I love what you're doing. I think it's
thank
cool.
you.
I watched your guys' video that you guys put out. I think it was quite a while ago now.
Yeah, it was like midsummer, I think in July.
Yeah, that you guys were partnering together, and yeah, I thought that was very cool. And I hope to see that this succeeds. I mean,
thank you
as
so
long as
much.
you keep going, it will.
I think so. I think you need to order from us. Abundance Cafe is taking orders until Sunday at 8 p.m. Go ahead and follow her.
Yeah.
And then order some of Erin's food and get it in a reusable.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, is there a process to like return these or?
So right now, like I said, Erin delivers once a week and she has a pretty loyal following for obvious reasons. And so we've just been swapping them out on deliveries. And so we're not even using extra gas to go get the containers. It's just every Tuesday during deliveries and pickups, you can swap it out with her. She has a pickup location at Apple Blossom Kombucha. You could swap it out with Kaylee there. And once in a while, Jeremy Hurt with Red Bike Delivery, he also delivers for Abundance, and he has taken some containers. And if for whatever reason you're not ordering 1 week, you can email me, takeout.takeout.mi@gmail.com, and I will do a one-off pickup for you.
That's cool.
So yeah, home or office, I've done both. And actually within the last 10 weeks, I haven't had too many of those, but yeah, it's available if you want to try it once and get a feel for it and you're not sure.
That's cool. We still got like 15 minutes to go.
Dang.
I don't want to wrap this up. So since you've quit your job and you started doing this full time, have you seen the business grow exponentially or like what?
Yeah.
Because you're able to devote more time to it.
Yeah, like I said, some of it's just being stuck, learning new things, going out, meeting new people. Even though it's like I have like a consistent people who get reusables every week, once in a while, especially now that summer's over and people are back in town, we're getting new customers and get introduced to new people at events. And I hear people say, "Oh, I heard about you." And so I'm like, that's good. I'm doing something right. This person who I have no idea who they are, they've heard of me and what I'm doing. I'm like, we're getting somewhere.
That's cool. That's probably one of the best feelings when you go somewhere and they're like, "Oh yeah, I've heard of you."
Yeah.
I recently went to an event and I was passing out business cards and stuff, and somebody's like, "Oh yeah, I've seen you before." I'm like,
right.
"Oh, that's cool."
Yeah.
It's a cool feeling.
It is. And then I was talking to Erin about this too. It's like, even though people have heard of us, not many have taken the plunge to actually try something new because it's new and scary. Before I partnered with Erin, I saw her post all the time, but I never ordered because it was new and scary.
Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely should order. Her food is amazing and she's definitely good at what she does.
And we're not scary.
No, not scary. Not scary at all.
I know. There's no reason to avoid it. It's for whatever reason, doing something new, going to a new place. It's like, ooh, yeah. But we're not scary. We're super nice. And if you have questions, reach out.
I can't remember what I was going to say to that. Oh yeah. The thing is, like with people, when they see something like that on social media, this is one thing I've realized, like people have a really bad attention span.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
Like it's easy to just see something on Facebook or Instagram and just scroll right by it, like it, scroll, and then you just forget about it.
Yeah.
So, like, what do you do, like, for those people?
You go out to community events and you see them in their faces and make them look at you. I don't know.
Yeah. It's frustrating. It's frustrating, I'm sure, as a business owner, where that's how you make your money. Because, like, for me, like, it's frustrating because I'm like a content creator, and I'm like, I want more people to see.
Right.
Like, people watch it, and I'm like, I've had a lot of people watch them, and then nobody like subscribes. You're just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And that's frustrating. But I don't make my living doing this. But like for you guys, that's how you guys make your living.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better at social media. I'm trying to figure out how to create more brand awareness and It's like I grew up when MySpace was a thing, and of course I got into Facebook, but now we're talking about reels and
way to age yourself.
Talking.
Ticking and talking.
That's what I call it. I know. My sister, she's like, but you would like it. I'm like, I know, that's the problem.
It's addicting.
I know it is addicting, but at the same time, as a business owner and being the only person, it's like, yeah, I kind of have to get my name out there somehow, but I'm like, dang it, I just wanted to post a picture, but now you make me do videos. And
I understand the frustration. And that's the thing, like for businesses, that is probably the number one way to grow as a business.
Yep.
And it's like one of the most difficult things to master because so many people are using it. Yeah. And it's like what works and what doesn't, and like what looks like a good post and what doesn't. And it's so complicated. You almost have to be a marketing expert.
Right.
You really do.
I know. It's like I have like all these ideas of what to post, but I'm like, how the heck do I make this? It's just like, I'm just scrolling. I'm like making pretend posts and hoping I don't accidentally post anything too soon. People are like, what's that?
Just delete it real quick.
She doesn't know what she's doing. She's learning.
Maybe you should have your daughter do it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure she knows.
She's 11. So
yeah,
maybe.
She still knows.
Yeah. Elodie, do this for me.
That's funny. Yeah, my kids, they're always giving me ideas. Like, Dad, you should do this. That's what they do on YouTube. That's what the YouTubers do. I'm like,
I know.
Maybe I should listen to you.
I know. Well, there's that. And sometimes those people have like more money. It's like, I don't have a stand. I don't have a light. I'm just trying to do things cheaply.
Yeah. Trying to do what works for you, especially as a small business owner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like maybe I'll borrow somebody's. I'll get on a buy nothing group, and instead of buying new products, I'll just use what's already made and continue my journey to zero waste that way by promoting a sharing economy as well. Yeah,
definitely. And then you could even like start a TikTok doing that.
Ticking and talking.
Ticking and talking. You sound like an old person when you say that. What are you doing over there ticking and talking?
Ticking and talking. That's going to be me. I already am an old person. Like when we watch TV shows, my daughter sometimes suggests new stuff. And I'm like, no, we're watching Boy Meets World and The Princess Diaries. And that's that.
Those are actually good movies.
I know.
Yeah,
I mean, Boy Meets World isn't a movie, but yeah, it's good.
I know. I actually don't think I ever watched that.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've ever watched that. But The Princess Diaries are good movies.
It is, yeah.
They're funny.
It is. And yeah, Boy Meets World is great because they don't really leave you with cliffhangers. We wrap up life's lesson in one episode. So if you don't want to binge watch, there's no cliffhangers. You can watch an episode of Boy Meets World and get your feels and then turn it off and go to bed.
Do you think that was created at a time before they really understood the addiction behind like watching TV?
Yeah, probably.
Because I feel like now that you mention that, I feel like a lot of TV was like that.
Well, yeah, and then you weren't watching every single episode. It was whenever it was. And so I think they just try to finish the story. So if you missed an episode, it didn't really matter so much.
Yeah, unless it was like some sort of like series or something on TV, right? Mm-hmm. They would leave you with like a cliffhanger and you're like, oh crap, I got to come back next week at Thursday at 6 p.m.
Right. But I think there's been a few Boy Meets World where it's not too big of a cliffhanger, but there's like part 2 like later on, I think. But
how does your daughter feel when she has to watch some of those older shows?
She likes it, and then she's appalled that kids at her school don't know what Boy Meets World is. They don't know Lizzie McGuire. She's like, what do you mean you haven't seen So Weird? And we like Sabrina the Teenage Witch too.
That's funny. I've tried showing my kids some older movies like The Land Before Time, because that was an awesome movie when I was a kid.
Yeah,
like I love that movie, those movies. And then there's another one about the dogs who run away.
Homeward Bound.
Homeward Bound, yes.
2
Homeward
dogs
Bound.
and a cat. We love that too.
Yeah, those are good movies.
They are.
But they don't hold up.
Yes, they do. I don't know what you're talking about.
The graphics are terrible. The mouths don't move.
I like it better when the mouths don't move. It looks weird when the mouths move.
Think so?
I do.
I don't know if I can get on board.
Okay, well, fine. I like it. Fine.
That is funny. Well, at least you conceited, I guess.
Yeah. I was like, if you want to watch the extra cheesy movies where the mouths move, fine, but no.
Yeah, it's kind of funny though to just go back and watch some of those things that were created back then, because now it's like the technology is so insane that a lot of that stuff seems cheesy. I mean, you may
with
not
the
think so.
technology, with the added technology, I think it's cheesier.
You think so?
Yeah, like when you're talking about animal movies, that's just like, oh.
But what if even a cartoon?
I don't know. It's been a minute because I've been stuck in my rut. It's like I have not left the 90s or early 2000s.
That's a good move. That's a good move.
So it's like, I don't know.
You don't dress like you're in the 90s though.
Yeah, I don't know. It was clean. But I do dress pre-COVID. I'm not in sweatpants. Yay.
That's a good move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you gotten out of like the COVID mode, like what, like I guess COVID depression and like COVID, like just the COVID mindset of wanting to be home? And
oh yeah, I was bored at home, hence kind of why I quit Jackson during COVID. It's like I could not sit still and work on their work. I was laying on the floor, like getting a chipmunk to eat out of my hand. That is how bored I was working at home. And then, I got to the point where I was like buying nuts for the squirrels and chipmunks. I was like a real Disney princess because they were coming to me and I would feed them. And then they were like, Kendra, why aren't you working? I was like, I know nothing. I was like, I swear I'm at the desk all day. I am not feeding the woodland creatures.
That is funny. That is funny. Yeah, that's got to be so difficult. I never had to work from home, but that had to be difficult for a lot of people.
It was just so boring. No offense to the Jackson work. But yeah, part of like why I liked it in the beginning was like I got hired in with like a group of people. They were fun. We were loud. We would have conversations. We would have a good time. And initially I thought I'd like working at home, like, sweet, I don't need to be in a mad rush. But then I just got super bored. And then of course, socializing wasn't the same because when you were socializing online, you weren't working. And so then my talking took up more time than the work, as opposed to I used to type and talk at the same time.
Yeah, you lose a sense of camaraderie with with people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
for sure. And that's what I missed the most, because I was just like, the work wasn't hard. It was easy. It was just, I need to be creative with my mind, and I lost that there.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely being creative now, and it's kind of forcing you to be creative.
Yeah.
Do you ever feel like you're kind of alone in it, in being like an entrepreneur and trying to like forward your goals?
Absolutely. And that's like where, when I was talking about Rapunzel, my other Disney princess, where, you just kind of cry because you don't think anybody gets you. Like when I first started this, so many people were like, well, what about a job? What about benefits? Like, what are you going to do? And why are you starting that in Lansing? You should at very least go to Ann Arbor if you're going to do that in Michigan, is what they would tell me. And yeah, I've gotten a lot of comments like that. People are coming around more now that I've like launched my beta test. But yeah, it's been really hard. It's basically been a journey about like self-love too, and believing in myself, because I know sometimes like we vibe off of what other people say to us, what they think about us, and you really have to know who you are as a person and what you're doing is good, and tell yourself you're doing a good job. You can't rely on comments to come from other people because you don't always get those.
Yeah. And they're not always efficient comments, and they're not always positive comments.
No.
And if you rely on like the negative comments, like that's just going to tear you down. Or even if you focus on them, that's just going to tear you down.
It does, and it's hard. And yeah, it's until like I met Jerry at the Fledge, and he was like really the first person to work with me, and he's the reason why I met Jeremy and met Aaron, because like one of his assignments, and he was just like, okay, if you want to do this, you need to know people in the community. You need to go do interviews with restaurants and see what their challenges are. Why aren't they focused on this right now, and learn?
Right.
And a lot of it is time and money. Like those restaurants are struggling after the pandemic, and these containers, while they are reusable, they is more upfront, but you can easily make it back over time with like rental fees and whatnot. And then there's, you know, having the capacity to actually go out and collect them and make a new system in your restaurant to see if it's even effective. And so that's basically where I come in, as being that middle person to do all of that work to make it easier for both the restaurant and the customer and make it efficient. And yeah.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Just a quick to go back. When you said that, when people say negative things to you, or like people try to tell you like, oh, you shouldn't do that because of this or whatever. I was listening to this lady give a speech, and she was like, you should not focus on that, because when people have negative things to say, they only are thinking about you for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then they move on.
Yep.
And so like, don't let that tear you down. Like, don't let that affect you. Don't let that be what defines you and what you want to do.
Yeah.
Because it only lasts for 5 minutes in their mind.
Yeah, in their mind. But yeah, if you let it stay in your mind, oh my God, it could last forever.
It really can, because then you're always like worried about like, oh, what's that person thinking about me? Yeah. And it can affect your success as a person or as a business owner.
Well, yeah, like even goes back into like my childhood memories and like being more introverted, and you know, like now I'm running a business. I'm on the forefront. People are going to know who I am. I'm going to have to talk to the public, where I've just been used to being like the shy, quiet person, doesn't get a lot of attention. I hate doing public presentations. It's like, do not put me on a stage. But now I have to do it. And instead of saying like, oh, I'm not that type of person that is a go-getter, it's like, I've just have to acknowledge I wasn't using that other part of myself. I have to tell myself that I've always been enough. I've just chosen not to use those other tools for whatever reason that I've always had.
I like that you said tools, because like once you learn how to do something that you're uncomfortable doing or that you're not used to doing, and you start doing it and you get good at it, it then becomes a tool that you have.
Right.
So like public speaking or being friendly to people and like all those are tools.
Yeah. And it takes practice, obviously. And then so many of us like to stay in our comfort zones, and
it's so easy.
It is easy because it's comfortable and I like it. But yeah, it's just, I really had to get past that mindset of like, oh, I'm not that person. It's just like, no, you chose not to do that. You can be that person if you really want to.
And if you were forced to do that, you would.
Yeah. If you're like truly passionate about something and you want to get a message out, it's like, nobody else is going to talk about it. Oh, okay. I guess that's me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm actually stepping a little bit out of my comfort zone next weekend by doing a live interview at When September Ends.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
You look thrilled. You're like,
Well, I don't think it'll be too bad. I don't think it'd be too bad. It is a little nerve-wracking, like being in front of people. I've never really I've spoken publicly, but it's not something I enjoy. And,
I know, yeah.
but I think it'll be good for me. I think it would be cool to be able to give like public speeches and stuff and all that fun stuff.
Yeah,
but
represent your own brand too.
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I'm not going to, who's going to do it?
Exactly. It like goes back to like being a little fish. Like sometimes I do wish I had some sort of business partner to help me meet me and like do the things that I don't want to do. But at the same time, I was like, this is my other baby. It's like, I don't want anybody else's face on it.
Yeah, absolutely. I understand that.
Or like I said, it goes back to being brushed aside of like, oh, who's that? It's like, we never saw you. We never heard you talk about it.
Right.
It was always that other person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's actually a really good point, because like for the podcast, I've always like kind of wanted somebody to come in and like help me do the things that I don't want to do.
Right.
But one thing that I've learned is that I have to be the one to do it. Because for one, if I learn how to do everything and I get good at it, then I have a greater appreciation for it when I'm able to hire somebody to like work the cameras, which, you know, obviously he's working the cameras, but he's doing it for free.
Thank you.
But like, I would like to be able to pay somebody to do it. And I like to be able to pay somebody to edit the podcast and upload and promote and all that stuff where I don't have to do it. But if I learn how to do it, then I have an appreciation for it. But like one thing that I've had to learn is that, because I never wanted to toot my own horn. I never wanted to be that person, be like, hey guys, check out my podcast. Like, I hate being that person. But then one thing I learned is that you have to be that person. Otherwise people aren't going to pay attention.
No, they're not. You really have to be like your own cheerleader and all of this.
You do. And then all the negative Nancy's, you have to tell them to screw off.
Yes. Go focus on yourself. Leave us alone.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And honestly, like, I don't even focus on that anymore.
Yeah.
Like if that happens, I'm sure, I don't know if you've had any negative comments or whatever, but you just got to brush it off, move on. It's good when you get negative comments, I think.
I know. It's like, I look for comments, but at the same time, I'm afraid. I'm like, what if somebody doesn't like me? It's like, oh, confrontation. And then it's like, but yeah, it's like maybe they do have valuable feedback that I could learn from. Hopefully, like if
or they don't.
Or
but it teaches you how to handle it.
It does, and I need to. If you want to be any type of leader, you do need to know how to work with those types of people and how to work together and. Or just how to brush them off if they didn't have any effective input.
There's a guy that I had on the podcast. This is going to single him out, but he's running for president. All right. So he's running for president and he's like TikTok famous. But there's people that comment on his live videos all the time that don't agree with him. They start arguments and then he just blocks them or deletes them. And I'm like, dude. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like for one, you say you're running for president, which means that you're running for everybody who's in this country. So why are you doing that? For two, just because they don't agree with you, like you need to learn how to, as a leader, deal with negative comments.
Yeah.
I mean, like, for instance, a lot of people do not like Trump for good reasons. But he is the pro at brushing that stuff off because the media was after him. All the public figures were after. Everybody hated Trump. And he just like didn't care. Like, that's what you need to, you need to have that level of not care about the negative. You should listen, like if it's good advice,
right?
Like you should listen to that, but you need to not care.
Yes and no. I was like, the only thing I really didn't like about Trump, because he was like the master of brushing people off, is he taught people like not to work together on that big platform.
Yeah.
And so, like, even now we see it like left versus right versus this, and we've really lost how to meet in the middle and like move forward because we're too busy blaming the other side instead of listening to the other side.
Absolutely. That happened a lot during his administration, and unfortunately, I see it happening again during the same administration.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be, this administration was supposed to be something that was going to unify everybody. And it's actually divided people a lot more. I haven't seen it
yet either. And so I'm just like, oh, we really need somebody to be like.
We need somebody to come in and be like, all right, look, America, look.
Yes.
I'm going to slap you around. This is what's going on. Come on, stop.
Yeah, there's no more two sides of the aisle. We're going to sit together. We're going to work together.
Yeah,
and
why
it's
not?
like, you're adults. Like, come on. Like, talk to people. And
Exactly. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I don't want to talk about politics. I hate politics. I really do. I hate politics.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. It was like, that was my degree, really.
Was it?
Yeah.
You went to school for political science?
International relations and global politics, yes.
That sounds very boring.
It was fascinating. But, it was also from the Italian perspective-ish, because I went to the American University of Rome. And so it was learning history, not from the winner's side.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's so what was that like? I feel like we could go another hour.
I know. Part two. Yeah, it was interesting. And honestly, when I went there, the American University of Rome has students from like over 50 countries, but it's very small because I think there's like maybe 30-ish people in my graduating class.
Whoa.
Maybe 50. I don't know. It was a lot. Or not a lot, but a lot of diversity, but not a lot of students. And so I honestly felt really stupid my first year because not only was I like the only one learning in my native language. Like these other people could speak 2+ languages. They were understanding the material in a foreign language to them.
Whoa.
And then of course they already knew like the other side of the story because they've experienced it in their own country. And I'm just like, what is going on?
That's one thing that's very interesting about our educational system is that we paint the narrative that we're always the winners.
Yeah.
And that everybody else is always the bad guy.
No,
or that we have the right side
no.
of things.
Yeah, it's like I think the biggest thing I learned, because like my paper was actually on how Germany reunified after World War II and how they became a part of the economy again and how they're one of the big world leaders after, you know, we went from hating them, and it's like, okay, how did we welcome them back into the community? So
how did we welcome them back?
It's basically by including them. There's obviously the difference between the East and the West. You know, the Russian controlled side, like they weren't welcomed, but you know, we got the economic union. We allowed them to be a part of our circle. We were not excluding them. At least, you know, the one side, when they're west. I'm like, which side is closer to us?
That's funny.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could apply that on like a smaller scale, even to the way things are today, like whenever somebody like does something terrible, we just try to ostracize them and kick them essentially out of society and ban them from Twitter, ban them from whatever. And it's like, we need to have a path of redemption for these people because like, yeah, they may have done a bad thing or said a bad thing, but it's like that shouldn't be who they are for the rest of time.
Exactly. No, it shouldn't. People should be allowed to learn and grow and be accepted back into society. And it's like Germany wasn't the only country doing bad things. Like I said, we were the winners, but nobody talks about how we were the example for Germany. It's like, you know, the laws they had against the Jewish community, where did they get that idea from? Us, our Jim Crow laws. And yeah, it's like they were doing medical experiments, but where did they learn that from? Us, the Tuskegee syphilis study. It's like, so what's the difference? Like a skin color? Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
I was like, you were just as bad. And yeah, you tried like all the German officials and set them up to hang. Like they're still chasing down people, but I don't see anybody going around the U.S. going like, okay, you made the Jim Crow laws, or you participated in this Tuskegee syphilis study and you did this to people. Yeah. And so it's just unfair how you did that. It's like you didn't win anything.
I mean, that's corruption, right? At its pure finest. I mean, even if you look at a lot of like the Harvard LSD studies and like the CIA being involved and testing people and like injecting them with LSD and like what? You find out the CIA was involved in that, and people just kind of brush that off.
Yeah, I know, right? And they just write their own version of history, like, oh, it's fine, it was them, not us.
Yeah, but I did see recently that a German, I think he was a soldier who was responsible for killing like maybe hundreds or even thousands of Jews. Was just tried, and he was like 90 something or close to 100 years old. Yeah. And he was like looking at like a lifetime in prison. I know. Like, should we just leave this guy alone, or like what's the right thing to do at this point?
So
it's almost
like I get it, but I can understand how people become involved too, because it's not like when Germany created their army, it wasn't just people volunteered. There was a draft. You had to. If you didn't have resources to get out, you were drafted, or otherwise you get hired or you get killed yourself. And it's you can say what you want to say about what you would do in that situation, but honestly, what would you do if it was your own life, your own family on the line? You would, I don't know. It's like you don't know until you're put in that situation.
I mean, like every other communist country, you know, like just look at what they did in Venezuela, like, or if you didn't give up your guns and everything, and you were in trouble. So essentially you're forced to comply. And if you don't comply, like if we had a draft right now and we were going to war and we had a war in our own homeland, like people would not flee. They would not fight the government. They would join, and then they would do whatever the government told them to do, because that's what you have to do.
Exactly. And so, it's, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, honestly, with that. And it's just like, I get it, but you don't know. And other people have resources. It's like you talk about refugees and everything. And they come with like very little, and not everybody has the means to drag every member of their family or to leave everything or to travel a distance to get to somewhere better. Sometimes they have to make the best of whatever situation that they're in.
Yeah. I don't even know what to say to that.
And so it's hard. I think, like, honestly, the best thing we could do moving forward is just like really listen to each other and don't be mean to somebody who felt like that was their only decision. And
yeah. Well, I mean, and did he publicly apologize? I mean, I know that doesn't fix anything that he did, like killing people.
It doesn't, but
like, as a 90-some-year-old, are we really going to send him to prison?
Yeah.
Or like, how did he live the remaining of his life after the war was over? You know, like.
Yeah. I mean, it depends. It's like, I'm sure he talked like with his family. I'm sure there's certain values that his family could live by now, and that would probably be like the best example of what he learned from that piece in history. And I know as of right now, Germany requires students to visit the concentration camps so that they are aware of what happened in their country's history, and so not to repeat it.
Yeah. I had a lady on who is a news reporter for Lansing here at Fox 47. She came on the podcast, and she's from Germany.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so we talked about the Holocaust and everything, and she was like, she's like, they don't really talk about it too much.
Yeah.
Because it's controversial. She didn't even want to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, it's like they don't talk about it, but they go to the concentration camps, and even when you go, it's like a very quiet, personal journey when you go through there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, though, the way other countries look at us, because we're so divided in the way we look at the people in our own country. Like, I mean, even having this conversation, somebody's going to not agree with us.
That's
and they're
okay.
gonna be like, oh, that Trump supporter or whatever she is or whatever he is.
Yeah.
I don't agree with them. They're pieces of crap. But then, like, listening to her talk, she's like, one thing that Germans or like other people from other countries, especially Europe, they look at the United States as like, we were so patriotic.
Yeah.
And they love that about us. And she loves that about America, is that like everybody loves the country. Yeah. Whereas like in Germany, it's not like that.
You feel like they can't be, because they don't
they can't
wave
take
their
pride.
flags
Right.
like we do here. It's like you can get the American t-shirt, swim shorts, wave your flag on your house, on your car.
I have a flag on my shirt.
See, exactly. Yeah. It's like,
but like, that's a sign of like, oh, he's a Trump supporter, or like he's this right-wing person. It's not like,
no.
it's just a sign of being patriotic and loving America. And like, yeah, I don't know.
It's all a very complicated tangled web. Yes.
It really is. I don't know where to go from that, but
I don't know either.
We could either keep going or we can wrap this up. It's up to you.
I don't know where to keep going from that either. Maybe we could just let people think about everything.
Well, I think it's important to think about our role, the role that we play in the world. And
exactly.
It's very easy to listen to a conversation like this and form an opinion and hate one side or hate the other. But really, we should be looking at the big picture as like us as a community. And, because like, one thing that I like doing with the podcast is interviewing people from our local community. Yeah. And because we're like in Michigan, we're a community, we're a smaller community. Yes. But we should be looking at that on a larger scale when we're listening to other people's content that are here in the United States. Like, we're all one. We're all from the same place. We are all from the same thing. We all have the same goal in mind. We want freedom. We want the same thing, essentially. And we should look at the way we treat each other, because other countries are watching us.
Exactly. Because like I said, we're on the forefront of the stage. We are setting examples. And so it's important for like not just individuals, but our leaders to set a good example on the world stage, because we see what happens if they don't.
Absolutely. All right.
Let's
wrap it up.
All
right. This was fun. Thanks for doing it. Check out Takeout on social media. Do you have a website?
Not yet, but my social media for Facebook and Instagram is takeout.takeout.mi, and it is the same for my email, just @gmail.com.
Okay, cool. And all of that I will put in the show notes, so If you are looking for any information on that, just go to the show notes. It's not that hard. And I hate doing this on the podcast, but I'm going to do it. So I want people to subscribe. I want people to listen to the podcast.
Yes.
And there's a lot of people that listen. So if you're listening or watching this, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. The like. Yes. Yeah. I feel weird doing that.
So
I don't like doing
I'll
that.
toot your horn. Okay, subscribe to his podcast, like it, follow it. If you have something valuable to share, request to be on the show. And like I said, follow Takeout Takeout, follow Abundance Cafe if you want to learn more.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks for doing this, Kendra.
Thanks.